Everybody, to the Making Awesome podcast. This is officially 3 years doing the podcast, or at least 3 years in episodes. I know that we've missed a few along the way. That's pretty cool. This is season 3, episode 52. So next week will be the official start of year 4, and will also be the move to going to episode numbers rather than a season plus an episode number. So I think next week would then be like 157. I think this is what that takes us to. And that way there's less stuff that I have to remember. Appreciate y'all coming out. We're going to be talking all about marketing for makers and how to stand out amongst competition, because there is a bit of a standard amongst makers out there. And it sucks because a lot of us just straight suck at marketing. And that means that we might have a really cool idea, but getting it known to others, getting it understood, getting it seen, and more importantly, getting it to stand out is incredibly complicated because, well, we don't possess the skills. A lot of us are introverted, so the whole speaking about it is tough because, we don't want to be the ones that are just tooting our own horn constantly. That can be for somebody else. But even further, we also want to make sure that, we're not spamming people, because we hate spam, you hate spam, and so you have to ride this fine line between useful, not useful, something in between. We're going to be talking all about this today, so if you are here hanging out, make sure to leave a like, get subscribed. If you aren't, join the chat. We got some awesome people here hanging out. I got Mad Cat, we got Russ is in here, Thomas, Geek Toy Box, Simon Snow, Mike from Never Let the Machines Win, and Duff is here as well. Thank you guys for showing up. Hopefully everyone's weekend is going well. I learned how to lash valves yesterday because my lawnmower was definitely dumping about 4 liters of gasoline into its oil because the valves weren't lashed properly. So that's cool. That's not cool because I'm like, oh, it's probably leaking oil still. Let me drain the oil out. And there was a lot of gas in the oil. But hey, on the bright side, the crankcase is clean. So you got that going for you, which is nice. But anyways, let's jump into marketing. So for those that might not be too aware of it, I want to first talk about what marketing is. And because marketing and advertising are two very different things that often have a lot of commingling and intermingling, right? Advertising would be where you're paying for someone to do something, right? You're paying for an ad to be ran. But advertising is a piece of marketing, just like FFF or FDM is a part of 3D printing. It's not the only thing that is 3D printing. I see Geek Toy Box and Mad Cat are asking the same question. You guys are asking where the 3D Musketeers name came from. It was my dad. In fact, we've talked about it before. In fact, he's actually talked about it, where the name came from. But it was because the company was originally started by 3 people: myself, my brother, and a third party. And my dad always called us the 3 Musketeers. We went to him to ask for a name. He said, "Why don't you call yourselves the 3D Musketeers?" We said we hate it, we love it, we rolled with it. And 7 years later, it's been a name that's caught on, and I really like it. I think that it really helps to better show what's going on. That we're not just 3D printing, we're not just 3D scanning, we're not just 3D design, we're the 3D Musketeers. And it kind of works. I dig it. From a marketing standpoint and from an advertising standpoint, it is a terrible name because it is often misspelled, so I have to own both domains, the Musketeers with an A and the Musketeers without an A. We also had to make sure that we put enough effort into our website, our keywords, and that kind of thing so that you wouldn't search for 3 Musketeers and find the movie, and if you searched for 3D Musketeers, that you would find us and not the 3D version of the movie. So yeah, you know, that's a thing. So yeah, that's where our name came from. And early on, a lot of the marketing agencies that we worked to try to work with, it didn't work out well because they don't really understand this technology, this process, this community. Because additive in general is a very odd one. It is controlled by engineers. And engineers, no offense to engineers, often suck at marketing because we're the people behind the scenes. We don't want to be the ones up in front, talking about everything that's going on. We don't want to be those people. That's not us, right? We are often the people behind the curtain that make stuff happen for others. But see, that means that a lot of our clients want a non-disclosure, want to be held back, and don't want to be known. So that means a lot of the cool clients that we've worked with, we can't talk about. And when we can talk about the clients, we can't talk about the projects that we've worked on for those clients. I am also seeing that I am still dropping packets. So high spectrum. So guys, please, there's nothing that I can do about any audio or video issues. If you are experiencing issues on the live stream, please make sure just to refresh. We're about a 1.8% drop rate for frames at the moment. So fun times. We're going to keep moving here. So that style, right? I just want to be the quiet person, the one that just is off to the side, doesn't really deal with anything, right? That is what a lot of us want. And, well, how do we deal with that? Sometimes people say, oh, well, get a marketing agency, right? Just get somebody to help you. And I don't necessarily agree with that because often you know your brand. You know the people that you're working with. You know the stuff. But it's hard to intrinsically understand it. And it's hard even more to process it and explain it to others. Now, we've certainly garnered a wonderful tool to assist in this and use it as if it was an unpaid intern. Absolutely look at utilizing ChatGPT, Google Bard, or some of these other, they're not AIs, they're large learning models, I think LLM, I think that's what that stands for. Large language model, maybe? I don't know. It's not my industry. But those will absolutely help you in better understanding the right ways to talk here, right? You need to be able to communicate what you're doing clearly. And it sucks because communication in and of itself is not that simple. In fact, it is very complicated. It is very complicated to communicate clearly all the time. And that means that your message that you want to get across might not actually be getting across. Let me give you guys a real example. It is an example that I literally had a staff meeting. It was with one staff member and our business mentor with, is that we have an odd time understanding client needs for communication. So we went through and he said, all right, talk to me. We had a particular client that had some things going on in their life. So we said, hey, no problem. We're going to go ahead, put your project on pause. When you're ready to poke your head back up, let us know. We're here to help. Except when he poked his head back up, it was apparently with one of our competitors. Because he left the Google review on their page saying that they did a great job. I'm like, wait, what? We were supposed to be doing that great job. What the heck happened? And he said, well, maybe he just decided he wanted to go a different route. Maybe he was actually having problems with you guys, didn't want to say something, and instead just went somewhere else. He said, but that is kind of irrelevant as to why he went somewhere else. We have to look at it and say, he did go somewhere else. What was the problem? And I said, the thing that I can pinpoint was that we weren't giving the communication that he needed. But it was also that we did not understand the communication that, I will go with that they needed. And because of that, we were not giving them that relationship that they were looking for. That is absolutely a fundamental flaw in the way that our marketing works, right? We market ourselves as the people behind the curtain, the people that will help you make your project. But unless you want us to talk about it, we're not going to. And that needs to change. We need to be showing off more client projects that we do. That you guys will see that we're going to start showing off more of the cool stuff that we do for our clients when we can. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. But it is complicated because I can't talk about the cool stuff that we've done for unnamed aerospace companies. I can't talk about the cool stuff that we've done that end up on jets. I can't talk about some of the cool stuff that we've done for major motion pictures because there are non-disclosures. And as cool as it is to remind everybody around mid-April that we 3D printed Snoop Dogg, that is only worth so much. And I guess that time of the year is the best time of the year to remind people, but still. What has happened is that we've moved away from what we thought our brand identity was. We thought our brand identity was to be the quiet people that would just make parts for people and we would have a good relationship. And that is not the case. We live in a world where if you are not actively talking about what you're doing all the time, unfortunately, unless you're doing something that is virally marketable, nobody else is going to do it for you. Heck, even on the channel, right? I make multiple social media posts that we're going to be going live, and we don't get a lot of interaction because that's normal. It is normal to not get a lot of interaction on stuff that is effectively a self-promotion because there isn't anything objectively cool about that we are going live, right? If people want to be there, they'll be there. You guys know that I go live pretty much every Sunday at 1 p.m. That's a consistency that we have. And because of that, a lot of you just know to show up, or you make sure that you turn on your notifications, even though those don't always work. You know because we have a schedule. And we need to adjust our brand identity to solve that problem. It will come down to us better understanding who we are. And that takes me to need to step away and say, all right, who are we and why? You need to do this as well for your maker business. Now, when you're first starting off, this is a much easier problem to deal with, like significantly easier to deal with than it is for somebody like me. Because we're 7 years deep into this. It's not like we can just instantly change who we are. This must be a slow, gradual change where, oh yeah, we're going to start bringing in merch. We're going to start doing email lists. We're going to start sending out news that we think is important. And oh yeah, we're going to start a written 3D printer review thing. More info on that coming soon. Because if I'm already reviewing printers, putting them into writing is not that much more difficult. But see, this market is not oversaturated, but it is one that you have to be concerned about. You need to understand that it's never going to be exactly the way that you want it. And don't worry, as soon as you hire someone or you look at bringing on people to your staff, you're going to realize that they're not you. Look, I have the best example of this period. I have an identical twin. You've seen him a few times on the channel, my brother Jonathan. We are literally genetically identical. And yet, I don't think he could do what I do. If he really put his effort into it, maybe he could. But that's not him. He wants to do IT. He doesn't want to do 3D printing. He thinks it's cool, and he's got a 3D printer at work, and he makes parts for, the stuff that he does at work, and he makes parts for his house, and that kind of stuff. Like, I get that. But running your own business is a completely different mindset shift that needs to occur when you're looking at trying to make money with something. So, yeah, and absolutely not 3D HP. I am not doing that. I see piece or pieces. You asked earlier about a name change. I don't see where that went, but you're saying that you have, some difficulties, right? I don't want to, say exactly what it is, but, I can see it. You said that you find communication very difficult, and that's why you can't talk on your channel. Remember, there are a lot of successful channels that don't have a lot of talking. In fact, there are a lot of successful channels that do voiceovers, that they film what they're doing, and then they voice it over later on without a camera, right? They're just sitting in front of their computer, they're reading a script, and that script follows the cadence of the video. In those type of videos, it's often where you are actually talking through what you're doing in the raw video. You take all of that information, and then that information is put into something that is valuable and useful into a script later on. Now, realize content creation and standing out amongst content creators takes a lot of hard work, and something that is not going to be an overnight thing. We are looking at more of makers that want to sell. I can do more on the content side. In fact, this week was supposed to be about like the power of social media, but in our Discord, we always discuss the topics. And we were all very concerned that this could come off as me being like, oh, I'm an expert on YouTube, and I'm not. Hell, I'm not even an expert on marketing. In fact, very clearly, I'm not an expert on marketing, because we're going to come up on the 4th year of doing a podcast, and we only have 36,000 subscribers. How many years was Joe Rogan doing a podcast before he made a multi-million-dollar deal with Spotify? Heck, we don't even have a sponsor for this podcast at this point. So, yeah, I'm not an expert on marketing. If that's what you came here for, I'm sorry, that's not me. But I'm someone that's been through it. And ultimately, I've learned a lot of mistakes that I can help pass along to you guys in a way that will help you better understand it, right? Let's assume you want to go on to Etsy. Hey, by the way, let's also assume you're going to like the video. If you haven't liked it, make sure you leave a like. And if you are listening audio only, we would greatly appreciate 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on. And if it isn't going to be a 5-star review, email me, youtube@3dmusketeers.com. I want to know why. We are actively trying to increase the quality of our podcasts and, look toward bringing on a more professional atmosphere, which includes professional sponsors. And to do that, I need to hear more feedback from you guys to make sure that not only are we providing what you want, but at the same time, you're getting the experience that you're expecting from something like this. Anyways, brand identity. In an oversaturated market, a strong, consistent brand identity will set you apart from others. It's kind of a requirement. If you're not set apart from others, you're not going to get anywhere. There's nothing I can do to change that, right? It's beyond your logo. It's beyond your color. It's about the emotional relationship with your customers and what they have to you, right? There's a psychological component to this as well. For established businesses, which, might not matter too much here, you can refine and deepen this identity, and that is helpful because it brings that relationship to be stronger. But for newer businesses, this is really difficult because you're like, well, why don't they just like me? They need to just like me. And chances are, they're not just gonna like you. They have to understand you, who you are, why you exist, and even further, why they should actually care. Because if that's not the case and they don't care, then, hey, they're not gonna care. And you're gonna struggle getting those people to care. On a site like Etsy, or any of the places that you can now sell 3D models or physical models, or hell, even a farmer's market, it is often driven by price. And we've talked about before where you don't want to be the cheapest person on the block, because I promise you, if you think you're the cheapest, I can find somebody to do it for less. There are people out there that will tell you that being the cheapest is the best because you will get more business. And while technically you will get more business, is that the business that you want? And will that result to a better profit margin and a better net profit than you would if you doubled your price? We've again talked about this one before, where if you double your price and you lose half of your business, you are making more money because your net profit goes up because you're not losing that amount of money that you would be spending on time, materials, or whatever on that 50% of your business that went somewhere else. I believe that better profit margins are how businesses like this succeed. So let's use the big example that a lot of creators have talked about. It's like the zoo ghosties and the models that go viral, right? The Magai Beer Dragons, whatever. The models that go viral on social media platforms. Everybody and their mother will want to sell them on Etsy. And what happens? They go to the people that are the cheapest. But if you've got some bomb-ass photos, if you've got some beautiful write-ups, if you've got all your colors next to each other and they're properly listed and the photos are perfect, they're modified and they just look beautiful, the colors are popping, it is exactly what people want, you have a better chance of getting someone who wants a quality product rather than a cheap one. And I often say the people that care about quality are more important than the ones that care about price. And that's a tough one to understand, right? Don't have your brand identity be the person that's just the cheapest. You will get a lot of business, but you're going to quickly realize that you're working for nothing. Somebody reached out to me on Discord. I'm in a lot of the rooms you all might be in. I'm pretty easy to find. That should be at 3D Musketeers on Discord. But they reached out and said, hey, I've got a project. I would love your opinion on it. I said, all right, send me over what you got. And they said, do you think this could be done for $30 to $40? I said, not a snowball's chance in hell, especially when you factor in labor. This was a big piece of machinery and needed to be shrunk down to about 3 to 4 inches. And there were a lot of components on this that there was no way in hell that these would be printable. And they tried. It was just a bucket of support material. Even if you did it in resin, it's going to be a bucket of support material that you're going to have to remove manually. I recommended a powder-based process, and we also get the raw step file to go ahead and change the model to be printable. And that means there's no support material, there's very, very little manual labor involved, and you can easily pay off a machine that can do powder in a job like that. There's a huge value into having a job that pays for a machine. Something like a Formlabs Fuse 1 Plus, they run about $60,000, all things considered. And to be clear, that is a metric assload of money. But if you can get a client that wants to pay $40 to $50 a model, and they want to get 1,000 models, well, wait a minute, you're getting really close to having the machine be pretty much paid for. And yes, you'll have some money involved in the materials and training and setup and power. But if you can have a $50,000 to $60,000 3D printer for sub $10,000, that is a monumental deal that you can now look at offering further services to your clientele. That is a brand identity that you can provide. Because if you're the person that can't do it, you better know somebody that can and say, I've got a guy that can handle this for you, and we get wholesale pricing. I'll handle all the middle between for you so that you only have a single point of contact. Customers love working with just one person. They don't want to work with 6 or 7 people. They don't want you throwing them around to different people. They just want to work with one person because that matters. That relationship that the brand identity creates matters so much to that interaction. It's where a lot of people prefer to pick up the phone. Some would rather text you, some would rather email you. And if your customer cannot reach you in those 3 ways, you better think of a way to change that because they're going to want to talk to you in one way or another. Now, I teach an online class every Tuesday with Domi Station. And we had a talk right at the end about hustle culture and how one of the people in the room absolutely hates hustle culture and actively waits 8 to 12 hours to reply to every email that they get. And I'm kind of the opposite. If you want to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning to get a print job done, it I'm going to charge you $1,000 to do it. Because if I'm getting out of bed to run a print job and you're calling me at 2 a.m., you need that job really bad, and I'm going to charge you $1,000 to do it. I will get out of bed for $1,000. A lot of people won't. I will. But that's also because I'm at this point where that kind of money is worth getting up for 45 minutes to run a print job and then go back to sleep, right? That's over, what, $25 a minute? I'm fine with that kind of money, guys. Like, to be clear, that's over $1,000 an hour to wake up. I'm fine with that. But if I ran a multi-million-dollar company, $1,000 a minute, get out of here. I don't want that. That's somebody else's problem. So it depends on your level of business, right? You need to understand where you sit in your market and be driven with that data to do that. So, as Mike says, he's been awakened for a lot less. Yeah, the cat was screwing around last night. That woke me up. I didn't get paid for that. Come on, where's my money because my cat wakes me up all the damn time? Jeez. Or where's my money for the back pain that's constantly waking me up? It's been certainly paid less than $1,000 a minute for that. Jesus, I've been paid less than $1,000 a month. God, it has been that low. God bless. Oh, I don't want to go into that. But you want to look at where your business comes from. Are you the person that can get stuff done like immediately? You're the person that people can rely on when they need an emergency job. When customers have emergencies, you can go about this two different ways. You can say, your emergency's not mine. Too bad. You're going to get it in 3 to 5 days. Sorry, can't help you. They're going to go find somebody like me that's going to make their emergency my emergency and charge them out the ass for it. And even then, they're going to thank me. We just did that with a customer. They needed parts in 1 business day. Thankfully, they brought me this job on a Friday. But they needed parts. They needed to order in hardware. This hardware, because they built the model the way they did, comes from McMaster-Carr. And if anybody has ever ordered from McMaster-Carr with Saturday delivery, you know where this place is going. This was $8 in components that had $62 in shipping. And I said to that to them. They said, we don't care. We just need the job done. We do not care what it costs. Okay. Overall, I think the job was about $800 or $900. It was a relatively easy job. And my cost on it was very, very little. Not only did they pay me within 45 seconds of sending the invoice, 3 days later, a care package shows up at my door with a couple bags of Haribo and a custom engraved Yeti tumbler with a handwritten thank you note. That's a company that gives a shit and realizes that I spent a weekend working hard for them, going through some BS that required back and forth on a Saturday and a Sunday with some of their engineers to make sure that we were doing it correctly. But they understood that that was valuable to them. And they just sent me another $600 in regular business. Business that they would have sent to somebody else that would have absolutely done the same thing that I did. See, we pride ourselves in making the emergencies of our customers our emergencies, assuming the customer actually has the budget for it. If they don't have the budget for it, I'm sorry, there's not much I can do, right? If you want me to stop everything else that I'm doing to do your project, there's going to be some money involved in that. It's called opportunity cost. And if you are making other people's emergencies yours and you are not billing extra because of it, I'm sorry, you have a charity, not a business. So a way that you can get through this is harnessing data-driven marketing, right? You want to look at the analytics for everything. The cool thing about content creation is that we have all the analytics that we need to see what works and what doesn't. I knew before we posted Wednesday's video that it wasn't going to do well, but it didn't matter. That Wednesday video that we put out this past Wednesday was not for our viewers. I mean, some of it was, but a lot of it is actually for people that want to do business with us. That is the video that I can send them. so that they get an understanding of what 3D printing is. You'll notice we've done some videos lately that just have not hit. That's been purposeful. We've been trying to build up a better, trying to build up a better library of videos that make more sense to our business customers, so that when we do work with them and they ask us questions, I can send them videos that make sense to them, right? Because we have this channel full of value, and if I'm not harnessing that in my business, I'm an absolute idiot. We need to be. So you can create these targeted and effective campaigns from looking at this analytical data. Every platform that you use has it. Etsy has it, Google has it, YouTube has it, Twitter has it, Facebook has it, LinkedIn has it. They all have analytics. Now, what level of analytics? That all depends. Even Instagram has it, TikTok has it. It will depend what platform versus what you get. But that can help you understand what your platform is looking for and how you can do it. We can see that when we change thumbnails and change titles, that videos will go up or they go down, or sometimes they do nothing. And that means that that title and thumbnail combination did not resonate with our core audience. That's okay. That stuff happens. There's nothing that can be done about it. But if you're not harnessing that power, somebody else will. Promise you that. Because if you're not doing it, your competition absolutely will. You need to make sure that you are looking at your analytics. Literally, the first thing that I look at every morning is looking at my analytics for YouTube. How did videos do overnight? What kind of comments did we get? How can I reply to them and start building a relationship, build a trust, build a communication with these commenters? Are they angry? Are they yelling at me? Are they just off their rocker? These are things that I look at to see, did these videos work or did these videos not work? Because ultimately, YouTube is a business, and anybody that says otherwise is out of their mind. You are putting time and effort into something to make money off of it. If you're watching this podcast or you're listening to this podcast, you either like listening to me talk, which I'm so sorry, or two, want to actually learn stuff or enjoy when I go off on tangents. And because of that, you find value in what I have to say. And when we start putting out merch, you might decide that that's something you want to do. I've got 5 different companies that we've ordered merch from, and I'm really hoping that the one that I like pricing-wise is the one that we can go with. Unfortunately, it is one of the tougher ones to integrate, but they have a really cool printing technology that is awesome. And while, yes, my goal here is not just to make money. It is to educate. It is to empower people. It is to, really inspire you guys to do awesome things. I also want to make some cash doing it, right? My time has value to it. And while we are actively losing money on YouTube, that's okay. There's a business case that tells me that we can actually go a little bit and be totally fine. I'm okay with this because I recognize that you often have to spend some money to thereby make it up. It's kind of an odd one, but that's all about business models. That data is one of the most powerful things that you can have. Because without data, you are shooting in the dark. And you don't want to do that. You need to look at what the data is telling you and listen to the data. Now, you might say, I don't like where the data is going. I'm going to keep going down my path because the place that the data is taking me is not one that I'm uniquely comfortable with. Great example, you guys love when I get mad at companies. I don't like getting mad at companies. So I know that's going to actively hurt our metrics, but I'm okay with that because I want to have more relationships with companies rather than continue to be blacklisted. Am I still going to call companies out? You bet your sweet ass I'm going to. But at the same time, I don't want to just call people out anymore. We're going to do it with data. And data separates us from the people that are just guessing. Now, see, one of the cool things about having good data and utilizing it in your marketing, even if you're small fish, is that you build a thought leadership. A thought leadership is where you are seen as an expert, whether or not you are. People have an intrinsic trust of what you are, who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Because of this, they like you. They want to hear from you, and they want to learn from you. Then your time infinitely increases in value. See, you can't just get a speaking gig in front of a bunch of people because, oh, you've been 3D printing for 5 minutes. No, you need to have a set system that shows you know what you're doing. Because if you don't, somebody else will. See, there are companies and places out there that have these things that are called a call for speaker, where they are going out and saying, we are looking for people to speak at our event on certain topics. Please apply if you do. And you can easily apply if you have no information about you. But they're going to ask for, show us previous talks, show us any, white papers and things that you've done. Well, if you don't do any of those things, you're not going to be able to provide it, and therefore, you're going to get ignored. See, thought leadership extends beyond just what you do. It is how you do it, right? People often say, I don't care about the color, just make the part. Okay. Well, can you give me some more information about the part itself? And based on the part, we might make a color choice that might fit their needs or resonate with them personally versus just choosing the most random color that we have in the shop that we have the most inventory of. There's a method to the madness most of the time. And when there isn't a method, there's at least an educated guess around it. See, I want to do more than just YouTube videos. We are working on reviews. We are working on paid classes that go way more in depth than a YouTube video ever could. But to get to that point, we have to do something that sets us apart, which was we had to start building that thought leadership. And as David Randolph says, a man who I am so excited to get to hang out with in a couple of weeks, never do the minimum. Which is funny because he typed it, I think, in as few characters as physically possible, which is always a fun joke there. But you never want to do the minimum. If all you do is the minimum, you're never going to win. Okay, I can't say never. You statistically will not win. You might get lucky. Right? The Island Boys got lucky. They did literally the bare minimum. Their songs have like 8 lyrics. And yet, they figured it out. Once. And then they've completely fallen off the cultural zeitgeist, if you will. They're not thought leaders. They're idiots. They're absolute idiots. But, at least for a bit of a point, they were rich idiots. Right? Then they frivolously spent money because people that come into money very quickly don't understand how to manage it. I'm not going to go into that. But doing even just a little bit more than what is minimally required will start to get you noticed amongst the chaff that exists out there. You don't want to be just taken away with everybody else. You want to be the person that is just a bit different. And if that means you take better photos, if that means you write a better description, if that means in your Etsy page, you have a way that people could contact you directly to ask any questions and you get back to them quickly. Hey, that might set you apart from the people that are just doing it for cheap. See, part of this is building that community, right? You want to not only build your community, but you want to acknowledge your community. At the end of every video that we do, We acknowledge the community that supports us. The supporters at the $5 tier and higher get listed at the end of every pre-recorded video that we do. Why? Because they're important. They're the ones that make this kind of thing possible. As a content creator, you generally cannot survive on ad revenue unless you're a multi-million dollar or a multi-million subscriber channel. And at that point, you have brand deals that allow you to not bother to rely on ad revenue. Ad revenue, that's funny money. The brand deals are where you make your money. But this strong community tie means that you are recognized, right? When Uncle Jesse sells things online, you absolutely know that he is attaching his brand, his following, his videos, his marketing, his branding, his advertising, his identity to those things. Because guess what? It's a recognizable thing. You search for Uncle Jesse, you don't just get the Family Matter, where I forget now. It's from a show. The name comes from a show. You don't just get that character. You get the YouTube content creator who's got this personality that is just a fun guy to hang out with. He's very personable. He's the maker's maker, right? He's the guy that a lot of people tend to say, I get this guy. And Joel Telling, very much the same way, right? What does Joel want? Joel wants a high five. That's what he wants. He doesn't want a hug. He wants to high five you. Why? I don't know. It's what Joel does. But that's his thing. Joel and Uncle Jesse both have print farms. Their business outside of YouTube is they make parts for people, often in a print farm atmosphere. So that's important. You want to make sure that you have that community. And while, yes, getting to Uncle Jesse or getting to 3D printing nerd, level of status takes effort. Yeah, it takes a ton of effort. But it comes with value that exists beyond just, oh, I have a YouTube channel with X amount of subscribers. When you go places, when you go to events, a lot of these events will have abilities to do talks. The talks cost nothing, right? We've looked at doing some, and I probably should have done one at the upcoming East Coast Rap Festival, but we decided that with how many companies and people that are going to be there, I'd rather take the time to just film while we're there to bring you guys along for the experience. But I could easily do a talk on whatever technology most people want. You want to talk on LPBF? I'm probably not the best person to do it, but I could certainly try. I can absolutely talk about the way the industry is changing, it's molding, it's varying, it's becoming different. Because that's the kind of thing that matters. We want to see that in our industry, right? But realize as a business, you can't do everything. If you try to do everything in your business, you will do nothing pretty poorly. You want to make sure that you focus on the things that you do well and partner with those that do something that you cannot, right? We don't do a ton of metal printing in-house. In fact, we don't do any metal printing in-house outside of some weird filament metal prints that we've done in the past. Currently, we outsource all that. We have a strategic partner that we work with locally that gives us really good wholesale pricing that allows us to put a little bit of meat on the bone for us, but at the same point, we operate as the endpoint of contact for the customer, and we work as the endpoint of contact for our client, the one that we outsource to. And that means that they don't have to deal with someone that doesn't know what they need. They work with someone that understands the tech, that knows how to build plates for it, that understands all the things that they already need, so they can give us a better price because they know there's no BS involved. So if you're just starting out your maker business and you only have a couple of printers, find a way to work with somebody who's got more printers than you that might have overflow capabilities to help you meet the deadlines that you need. But you better reach out to them first and make certain that you can, one, get wholesale pricing, or two, that their retail pricing is less than yours so that you have an opportunity to make some extra cash. Because you probably don't need 50 3D printers. You probably need 3. But every now and then you might need 8. And having 8 to 10 3D printers in a house is a great way to get into an argument with a significant other. Don't do it. So instead, you can look at building out a partnership, or an alliance, I should say, because partnership's a dirty word. A strategic alliance would be more accurate here, where you work with somebody and they work with you and you guys trade services, because that's how the world goes around. We work with an injection molder, right? We don't do injection molding. Of course we outsource that. But with the injection molder, we do all of the CAD. They want to work with the end client. So eventually we just, do the introduction and then we bow out. We're done. But we do the CAD for those jobs. And the CAD is very valuable to them because it's one less thing that they have to do. And they know that we know how to design for what they need. So they don't bother us. There's a lot less BS involved. And you build a relationship to where you guys know that you can trust each other because you've constantly done well. And in the times where you do screw up or you can't help or something doesn't work, there's a mutual understanding of, hey, it's just not a good fit. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. These alliances can help you amplify your product offerings. And by doing it, you can add on to what is possible in your business, right? We have a client that wants us to print a big part. We're talking 40 meters in length. That's a big damn part. And when I first started talking with them, I said, why do you need a part this big? They said, oh, it's a hull for a boat. Okay. Why do you need it printed? Oh, we want to test it. I said, okay, what if we print the mold rather than the hull? Because the mold, we can do in a few pieces. We can ship it to you and not need to hire a lowboy to take a 40 plus meter part. Like, there is such a ridiculous amount of effort that is needed to ship a part that big. It's just not funny. Hell, just building a part that big requires a crane. I don't care how hollow you make it. It's going to be heavy. But I said, why don't we build you the mold so that you can have your part made out of carbon fiber and utilize it in an end-use production? Because a 3D print is never going to perform like a carbon fiber piece will. And I said, and then we can build the mold in pieces, use joinery to hold it all together. And then when you're done, you can break the mold down, stack it up, and put it on a shelf, rather than having to figure out what the hell you do with a part this big. Because, oh yeah, that's a really big part. And they said, that's a great idea. That makes a lot more sense than 3D printing the thing. I said, I know it does. That's what I'm here for. And they said, you know a thing or two about this. I said, yeah, a thing or two. A thing or two. And that was an instant relationship build that you would have never seen coming. Because traditionally, I would never do parts like that. But I said, wait a minute. I need to understand what their needs are. And then we get to understand why their needs exist in the first place. And see, there are no 3D printers that I am aware of that can do a part in one piece that large with the kind of quality and accuracy that that client needs. As far as I'm aware, they don't exist. And in fact, to do a job like that, we would be relying on tool changers to do it. Tool changers would allow us to utilize a 0.8 or a 1.2 millimeter nozzle to do the bulk of the print. But where you would be laying in carbon, we could switch over to a 0.4, a 0.25 millimeter nozzle and get really smooth layers, where a 1.2 millimeter nozzle just wouldn't do it. So we can get speed, we can get strength, and we can get quality all in one print job. That's where tool changers start to matter a lot. That's why I want a Prusa XL. And it's not just because I'm a Prusa fanboy. I want a Prusa XL because it solves a very unique problem that we have, where we need strength, we need speed, and we need quality. But you normally can't get all three of those. You often need to choose two at best. And that's if you're lucky. So look at people that can offer those things that you can't. You got a guy that's got an HP MJF printer. Oh my God, that opens up your abilities to add on to what you can do. Imagine doing, one of the Flexi Dragons, but it's made out of powdered nylon. It will pretty much never break. Never break. It's made of nylon. It's flexible. You can bend it. You can twist it. You're not going to hurt it. Versus making it out of a silk rainbow, where you look at it the wrong way, the damn thing is going to break in a layer line. There are value options that exist where you could build things that have a lifespan that is known, rather than one that you're just kind of guessing at. And see, this service expansion and diversification does start to separate you from others. And you can talk about that you offer it. You don't need to be telling people that it's outsourced unless you're doing a job that requires that level of, clarity. We, just by nature, will let people know if we are outsourcing, right? We let them know that we're outsourcing. We let them know that we are getting a wholesale price, and we let them know that we are adding a amount of money onto it to accommodate the time. Nobody has ever been bothered by it. It is very, very good to have that kind of relationship. Because if you build it upon trust, there is no reason not to trust you moving forward. And it takes about 3 times for you to do something right, where you get asked to do something and you do it the way that it was asked, for someone to not really bother checking your work again. Because it's just assumed you're going to do your job. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not simple. It's not perfect. And it might not ever be right. However, it might be right for you. See, you can't do everything. No matter what you want to do, you can't do everything, right? I can't lift 180 pounds anymore. I can't do it. I can't lift 200 pounds anymore. I can barely lift 50 if I'm lucky. Well, I can lift more if I need to, but I'm going to hurt the next day or the same day. You have to look at what your limitations are and work within them, and work with people that don't have those limitations, that can help you be where you're not. As we talked about before, optimizing the experience for your customer matters. Have friends and family, especially those that are hypercritical, run through your process and see where the problems are. I routinely have our staff go through our process and see how it goes. In fact, I'm just starting to work with one of our staff who is a former military, who is going to help me better communicate to our end customers by looking at the recordings that we do, but only after he talks to me. See, we record every video conference that we do with clients. Every single one of them gets recorded. What we're going to do is he's going to talk to me right after I'm done. Then he's going to watch it, and then he's going to compare what I said versus what he picked up on. He was counterintelligence. Okay, this guy knows how to read people. Okay. This is now where we can get some value out of it. Value that up until my business mentor said, wait a minute, he can do this for you. You know that, right? I never even considered it. And now there becomes a value where I can better understand the needs of clients and pick up on those subtle cues of facial muscles, of tonality, of voice that I might not have previously because, well, I'm not an expert level social engineer. That man is. It's pretty damn cool. But by optimizing that experience over time, you find your pitfalls and you make it easier to do business with you. And see, if it is significantly easier to do business with you than the guy that's $10 cheaper, they're going to do business with you. Why do you go to Amazon? You go to Amazon because it is fundamentally simple to do business with Amazon. It is much more simple than it is to do business with AliExpress. Because AliExpress can take upwards of 3 weeks to send you things, and you're willing to pay a premium to get it faster. Why? Because time matters. And sure, it might be a $3 to $4 premium, which doesn't seem like a lot of money to you, but that $3 to $4 premium is pretty much pure profit for that buyer or that seller. That $3 to $4 with 10,000 people that do the exact same thing that you did results in a viable business model that literally relies on laziness. Something that, if there's nothing else that you can rely on in the world other than death and taxes, laziness is absolutely one of those. People want things done for them. If they didn't want things done for them, 3D printing as a service would not exist. People would just buy their own damn printers. And yeah, there are times where that makes sense too. Don't be the person that says, oh, you can't do this yourself. Be the one that says this industry is open to anybody at any skill level that is willing to sit down and take some time to learn. See, we often get questions for cosplay. And with our pricing, cosplay does not make sense for 3D printing as a service. We are simply too expensive. So we say, hey, I know beyond a reasonable doubt that the money that I am going to charge you for this is more than the cost of a good 3D printer that you can just use and make your own damn parts. Now, if you're not the type of person that wants to learn, I totally understand, and we'll do it for you. But if you're the type of person that wants to make more cosplay stuff, that wants to sand, paint, prime, and all that, you're probably the type of person that is totally fine with learning how to use a 3D printer. And when you can get a Solval SV06 Plus for between $300 and $400 US, that is absolutely a screaming deal, and there is no reason that you should pay me $600 to make you a 3D printed helmet when you can make it yourself for about a week worth of printing time and about $40 in the finest filament that you can get out of Newark, Delaware. Printed solid, Jesse PLA, Jesse PETG. It's good stuff, and that's not just because Dave is here. I love Jesse. In fact, I'm printing Jesse right behind me right now for a client that wants logos for their event. We talked about it in Wednesday's video. My 6-kilo order of red ice finally came in, so I can do the parts. But that's where trust really, really comes into place. See, then you play the loyalty and referral program. We will be setting up something similar here. We find that a lot of our customers don't want to talk about their experience, hence why we don't have a ton of Google reviews. I really need to get better at pushing people to leave reviews on Google, because that is instant validation that we kind of know what we're doing, right? And the more reviews you get and the faster you get them, the better that you rank on Google. See, that is all about getting them to go there and do it. Referral and loyalty programs, right? There are a lot of places that have loyalty programs like, hey, on the 10th time you come and visit, your meal is free or your dessert is free, or we give you $5 off for every $100 you spend. You weren't going to spend $100, but you might have spent 90, and to spend 100 but only have to spend $5 more. Well, hey, that's $5 and free something that you weren't going to have otherwise. But in reality, the business just got $5 more of your money that they weren't going to get either. Referral programs where you give 2 people money off, right? Hey, for every customer that you refer to us, we will give you 10% off your next order, and we will give them 10% off of their first order. But they only get the 10% once, your first client only gets their 10% when their referral places their first order. Referral programs are so valuable. And while places like Etsy don't easily allow it, you can build out your own website to not deal with this BS in the beginning. Be the person that allows customers and really kind of builds a program to having customers do the marketing for you. Because guess what? If you suck at marketing, be the one that empowers others to market for you, right? Have them show off, right? Hey, post on a social media about your parts, send us a few photos and a little video testimonial, and we'll give you $10 off your next order. That $10 is an easy value that you can then take the video that they shot, the photos that they used, edit it into a little testimonial snippet that is available on your website that adds social proof to the work that you do. And what is that going to cost you? $10 plus maybe 30 to 40 for an editor if you don't do the editing yourself? Brother, that is painfully cheap, especially because it's not just running for a short amount of time. You're running an ad campaign on your website forever. But don't just look at your pricing and say, I want to be the most expensive. You want to optimize your price for the services that you produce. If your services are someone that does really high quality, but it takes a bit of time, price yourself accordingly. If you're someone that is middle of the road quality, but can do it in 12 hours or less, you better be expensive because your time has value to it. Having that strategic pricing can boost your sales and the perception, right? Having that perception of, oh, this guy's $15 more, but it ships out in 1 day instead of 3 days. Okay. You might just run a rolling inventory of products where you keep 3 or 4 of each color, each type or whatever in stock at all times. So sending out next day is no big deal to you. Where the person that is just printing to order might be struggling to do it in 3 or 4 days. And sure, keeping an inventory sucks. There's a lot of effort that is needed and there's all this extra stuff that is required to maintain an inventory. It means that you can get things done faster, get things out to people, and the perceived value that they have for what you're providing is therefore higher. That is great, and it's incredibly ethical. It is a great way for you to build. Now, the problem is if you have certain things that don't sell, you now have an inventory of them that you can't do much with. And as things slowly pan out, analytics help you understand what has sold and what hasn't, you can see where you need to change certain ones. And if you don't want to hold the inventory anymore, do a closeout pricing where you sell them for a little bit of a lower value. You have a set inventory, and when that color runs out, you never make it again. Sell it out at a cheaper price, get it out of here so that you can make some money on it rather than paying to keep it in inventory. And then never use the color again. Have an option for custom color. Have an option that isn't a color that is seen on your page, right? We're going to be doing t-shirts. Likely Gildan. Looking at a few different types of shirts. But Gildan seems to kind of offer the widest variety of shirts. But I have shirts coming in from different manufacturers for print on demand. This is not 3D print on demand, it's DTG printing on demand, direct garment printing on demand for our t-shirts. And I'm not only going to look at the quality of the shirt, I'm going to look at the quality of the printing. I'm going to wash and dry them quite a few times to see how do they stand up. Because I don't want someone to spend $20 to $25 on a t-shirt that isn't going to withstand basic care. That's going to upset me. I don't like that. It's why I want to do more embroidery stuff. But embroidery, we can't do big things on a shirt. It's too expensive. We have to look at some sort of printing option. So it works, right? But we also recognize that certain types of printing might be more expensive than others. So we'll offer different styles to people and say, hey, if you want, here's an option. If you want a different option, here you go. We'll have budget options, we'll have premium options, because it doesn't cost me any extra. But if you want a certain quality of a shirt, where was it? Someone had said, text to text said, if you're doing clothing, do cotton merch, please. Pure cotton, it's not a very common thing, but we're not doing pure polyester, I promise. A lot of these are going to have some cotton and polyester blend. But that's the way of the world. We can have pure cotton options. They're going to be heavy. Okay, fine. If that's what you want, I can easily add it to our store. But if we know the quality of the printing, okay, then it just relies on the quality of the shirt itself. Offer those options. And if you want something we don't have, give the client a way to say, hey, I'd love to have this. Could you guys make that? Okay, no problem. That's easy for me to take what you say, put it to a vote, and make it happen. See, for those that don't know, we have a private Discord. $10 tier or higher on any of the ways to support us is how you get into the Discord. The Discord gets all of the behind-the-scenes stuff and gets to hang out with us often. The Discord has helped us get the merch that we have lined up. They've helped us choose the stickers, the lapel pins. They've helped us do some really dumb merch. They've helped us do some funny merch. They've helped us do some serious merch. This kind of stuff helps so much because it means that we have people that would likely buy the stuff already assisting us in making it possible. And at the same time, we are going to offer discounts to our followers for the merch. It'll be coupon codes that'll be given out only to followers. Here's the fun thing. It will be for more money than the lowest tier on our Patreon. The $1 tier. The coupon is going to be for more than that. And we're going to do pre-sales where we allow our fans to order first. That way they get the merch before the rest of the world. And hey, that's just value that exists that we're not going to do for others. Why? Because we have this little club that we want to expand. But hey, if you want to be repping the club a little early, well, you got to join. Got to put the money where the mouth is, if you will. Polymate Paul says that we need some speakers at some stage with 3D Musketeers phase plugs. That would look cool. It would look cool. Paul, I want to talk to you at some point. DM me. I want to set up a meeting with you. We're going to be doing some audio series coming up, and I want to see how we can work together to design some really cool projects for the audio series. I have been playing around in here, the Truth Ear Ola 2. They're Olas. Truth Ear Olas. They're DLP 3D printed. The entire case of it is DLP 3D printed. I want to look at doing more 3D printed audio stuff, so we should talk because it's an electrostatic project. So I want to look at doing an electrostatic custom-built 3D printed speaker and compare it to my giant electrostatic speakers that I already own. But, you know, again, strategic alliance. Could I build electrostatic speakers myself? I mean, probably. But I don't want to. Paul knows how to do it. I don't. Russ, did that shirt never get to you? Russ said that you promised me a shirt about 1.5 years ago. Fess up. Did you never get the shirt? We mailed it. I will have to go back and check the tracking number. Because I sent that shirt out a long time ago. All right. If you didn't get it, I will get another one out to you. Russ, email me your address and shirt size, and I will get another one in the mail tomorrow. Because when we order embroidered shirts, I have to order 5 of every size. So I know I have your size. I will get another one in the mail to you tomorrow. So maybe you end up with 2 shirts. I don't know. But apparently, that's a thing that you can't always rely on. You can't always rely on something that goes outside of your hands, right? There you go. Someone that I sent something to that they never got it, which is ridiculous. They should have gotten it. It got lost in shipping somewhere. I have a much better story for that, though. I have such a better story for this. we did a project for a client. It was a custom razor, like a shaving razor. Obviously, I used that product. And apparently, it got lost in the mail because 3.5 years later, it shows up at my front door. And I text the guy saying, "Why did you mail this back to me?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I just got a package that I sent out to you 3.5 years ago back at my front door." He's like, "What?" He's like, "I never got a package from you. I thought you guys ghosted me." I said, "No, you never told me." He's like, "So this thing has been sitting in a post office somewhere for 3.5 years and finally got returned to sender?" I'm like, "I guess so." I said, "Do you want it?" He's like, "No, we abandoned the project because it just didn't work." But we had a great laugh about it. This is a client that I haven't talked to in years. And we had a great laugh over it. I still have the parts because it was just funny to me that they randomly showed back up at my door. They were resin parts and they weren't actually broken. That was so cool. I said, "Dude, I will send these back out to you. I don't care." He's like, "It is what it is, man." It's just one of those fun things that it's like, sometimes that stuff happens. But that's where it's my due diligence to follow up, where I don't follow up as well as I probably should. Yeah. Giant Robo 77 says, "But people who you have a relationship with learn from you how to give better feedback, whether it's early discounts or shirts." Yeah, it's true. You want to build that relationship. It is complicated, especially as Paul from Polymate says, that life can get in the way. Life can easily get in the way. And that means that in like 2 weeks, we're not going to be streaming because we'll be at the East Coast Rep Festival. I'm not going to be streaming a podcast because we're going to be at IRF. That's what happens. Now, I'm hoping that we can stream live from there, but I'm not going to count my blessings on that one. We're just going to, maybe we can, maybe we can't. But understanding how you need to handle this is probably one of the best ways that you can do marketing for your own business, right? I didn't know the shirt didn't get to Russ. We sent it. It didn't get there. Why? I don't know. Maybe it got delivered to somebody else and they never bothered to actually check the address. They're like, "Why do I have a shirt that says 3D Musketeers on it?" Whatever, free t-shirt. It's so weird, right? But because I didn't follow up, nothing ever happened. That's a problem. That's a big problem. How do you solve it? It's not that easy. Crisis management is probably one of the more challenging key factors when it comes to dealing with clients. Because if you assume you're always going to get it right, I have some bad news for you. You won't. You're going to screw up. And if you don't stay on top of it, they're going to find somebody who will. Don't be the one that always screws up. Screw-ups happen, right? I have forgotten to send print jobs. I've forgotten to send invoices. My God, I've got a client who we forgot to invoice for like 3.5 months. They reminded me, they said, "Hey, I've got the parts, but were you ever going to send me an invoice?" Because like, if you weren't, that's fine. But, I don't want to feel like I'm stealing. I totally forgot. Now, bless that client, because, had they never told me, I would have never remembered. But there's so much value to having that relationship. They'd worked with us for a while. They knew that I probably just forgot. So they reminded me. It's a great of value that is created there. And a relationship that is built upon that, "Oh, dude, thank you so much for helping me. I greatly appreciate it." You also want to look at diversifying your offerings, as well as innovating and staying ahead of what's out there. If you know that the same stuff sells every single year, why don't you look at offering something different that might challenge something new? Offer the same stuff that you know sells. You know that the Zoo Ghosty is probably going to sell great during Halloween. Great. But why don't you try to make something else that might also serve a similar market, a complementary product that has less of a challenge to sell it? See, if you can learn basic 3D modeling, you can offer models that nobody else does. So if they're looking for like a 3D printable flexi bat with feet, nobody probably makes that. Maybe Fix Some Dude does. Fix Some Dude's probably already working on it now that I just said it. But you could be the one that makes that. You could be the one that sells it. And if you're the only place people can buy from, you can set the pricing whatever the hell you want. Now, obviously, set it reasonably competitive. Start with a higher price. Start offering discounts until you see sales start to spike. Then slowly start creeping up your price until everything kind of crosses, right? You will find a price point where this thing sits. Why do you think that places like Michael's, Joann's, even Harbor Freight always have things on sale? It's because they're testing the upper price limit of what you're willing to pay. See, if you're in a hurry, you're not going to look for coupons. You're going to buy it at full price off the shelf. But if you know how to shop at these places, you know they have a 20% off coupon generally that is just there hanging out. And that means that anything you get can be 20% off. That means you're paying less money if you do just a little bit of research. But does that mean you buy a little bit more of a premium product so that even with the 20%, you're still paying a little bit less money? I don't know. But that's where pricing optimization really plays in. Here's a good one. This is my Artec Eva. My second Artec Eva. I just bought this one. It showed up. I still need to test it. It is used. And I got it for what I think is a very good deal. We find that a lot of people want to use $20,000 3D scanners. This scanner, brand new, is $20,000 US. But if we could do $150 to $200 an hour, maybe $250 an hour, or we do a day rate, maybe like $1,000 a day, to have a scanner like this, plus shipping both ways, sent to you with a computer, with videos on how to use it, and as soon as it gets back into the mail, you get charged the appropriate amount. So let's say you had it for one day, it showed up to you, you had it for 24 hours, and you shipped it out, that's one day. And you get charged $1,000 and you can scan anything that you want in that time frame for that. There is a lot of value to someone that doesn't want to spend 20 grand on the scanner plus $1,200 a year for the software, but would love to have a scanner and software and computer shipped out to them. They learn how to use the scanner in the first hour or two. They're not that difficult to use. Then they do all the scanning jobs they need and they send it back and their credit card gets billed. We would put a $7,000 hold on the credit card for a 7-day rental. And it's the same way that rental car companies do it. We would do the exact same basic thing, but with 3D scanners. I want to test that market. And it's not going to take me very long to make a functional business model out of it. But to do it, I have to have a second scanner and a second laptop. We're working on that. But I have to have the second scanner. The scanner is the hard thing to get, especially at a price that I'm willing to pay. Because there's nobody that does that. There's nobody that will rent you a $20,000 scanner and not have somebody go with it. I'm okay to take this risk because I believe that ultimately there is value that is offered beyond just being able to do it yourself. It's that, oh, if you want to offer 3D scanning through your own business, but you don't want to buy the 3D scanner, the first time that someone asks you to do a small job, it might make more sense to just rent the scanner from us and not need us to fly to you. We'll ship the scanner. It's no big deal. It goes into a Pelican case that can handle a drop. We can do all of that. And we're going to be one of the only companies in the nation that are going to offer that. We might soon find out that there's a reason. And at that point, this bad girl goes up for sale again, and I'll probably make money on it because I bought it for a really good price. I look at things and say there is a hole in the market that we want to fill. Why? Why does it exist? I don't know. But let's go ahead and try it. And we're going to do it. Same thing with the written reviews. There's only a few places out there that do written 3D printer reviews. Okay, great. I already do 3D printer reviews. Put them in writing, Grant, and publish them. Because at that point, people that don't want to watch your damn video can read your article. And if they liked your summary and they want to watch your video, which will be right under the summary, they can. And if they want to instead read on to the full review, they can do that as well. These are things that don't exist. We might find there's a reason. We might find there's no money in review, but we might find there is. Affiliate links are a thing. Companies that will send product are a thing. And certainly if you're running a 3D printing business, getting free 3D printers in exchange for reviews that you can then put into your print farm, that you can then use to make parts for people. And because you're not paying for the machinery, you can offer slightly better pricing because there's no amortization of the cost of the machinery involved. Well, you might, lo and behold, have a business that can exist from it. Or you give away the printers, right? You just give them away when you're done if you don't want to keep them for yourself for some reason. Look at ways to stand out from others. It's not just about being a YouTuber. It's not just about doing this. It's not just about doing that. It is about the whole thing. And while that might be very, very, very anxiety inducing, I get it. Because that's like 18,000 things you have to focus on at once. I promise you that it is way easier than you might think. With that being said, you have to start slow. Don't think you're going to be the next Grant Cardone overnight. You're not going to be. You know how Grant got to where he is? Social proof. He proved out his business model, and then he made the business model that a lot of speakers do. They sell books. They sell books about how they've done things. And it works. Right? But if you don't have that social proof that already exists, selling the book is complicated. The 3D Print General, former podcast guest, has a great book on 3D printing failures and how they occur. It's a great book. In fact, I should probably pick it up. I don't have it. But he makes fair bit of cash doing that. But he also has an ability for those that can't afford the book to get it for a lot less money. Because we get it. It's not easy. But I can promise you that book was very complicated for him and is a lot of effort that he puts in every single year to make these books. But on top of that, he also does, printing for whatever stuff that he does printing for. Okay. But you don't have to go hard in the paint to start. Do some small things. Test, analyze, and go from there. You can do this. It's not simple. I get it. And it's very daunting. Choose one thing that you're okay with. Start there. Set a line in the sand that you refuse to cross ethically and make sure that you stick to it. We often find that people that set ethical lines in the sand over time will forget about that line and cross it and not even know they've crossed it, right? We have some ethics that we refuse to cross. We won't do things that are illegal. We won't do things that are in certain industries. There are certain industries that I don't want to touch because they're just fundamentally too dangerous for me. I don't want to do them. And we generally will not do things that are in the current news cycle because there are people that are doing it for the wrong reasons. If it is something that is popular for some reason, I will ask people why they want to do it. If it's because they saw it online, we're not the right company. But if they have a reason to do it, we will absolutely help them out. We want to help tell stories. We're not just send us a benchy model to print and we print it and that's it. We have a relationship that we want to build. And that means that not every customer is right for us. That means that every customer that you come into play with might not be right for you either. That's okay. At the end of the day, it will never be perfect. Heck, we know that it'll never be perfect. Look at other companies out there that show that it's just not perfect. You don't have to be Apple. You don't have to be Google. You don't have to be Coca-Cola. They spend more money in marketing consultants than you will make in your first 5 years combined. I don't care how much money you make. They spend more. So don't compare yourself to them. Imposter syndrome is a bitch and will absolutely eat you up if you don't get in front of it. After the East Coast Rap Festival, we are going to have another talk with Nick Angers. He still doesn't know it because I keep forgetting to talk to him. But we're going to talk all about not only imposter syndrome, but some of the challenges that neurodiverse makers have. And, well, you might fall into one of those categories. That's okay. Do what you're good at. You don't have to run advertising campaigns on Google. Don't bother with that kind of stuff. But build up that social proof. Get those reviews. And not just from your parents or your friends. Do parts for others. Show off cool stuff that you're doing, even if you suck at it. Put stuff and photos of what you're doing on Instagram, even if you suck at it. Do stuff for others. Help others. Have a goal, have a mission, and stick to it. From there, get those testimonials, build them out, price accordingly. Don't be the cheapest. Certainly, unless you're providing top-end experience, don't be the most expensive either. Optimize it so it is easy to give you money and easy to do business with you, but also make sure that you're diversifying what you're doing when you have the capacity to do it. Don't just bring on a bunch of technology that you don't know how to use and then struggle to make money with it. Bring on the tech when it makes sense for you. From there, be ethical. Set your lines, don't cross them. Don't be the person that's going to undercut somebody else just because a client asked you to. That's not your job. Don't be that guy. Expand slowly. Don't try to go global before you're ready to even leave local. But at the top of all of it, make sure that you always look for that next thing that you can make. And if you think it might work, send it. Because your risk factor is very low. It's some time, it's some filament, some resin, whatever. And if it doesn't sell, no big deal. If it does sell, build out the market and the business case to handle it. It will take time. Do not expect this to be overnight because I promise it won't be. But expect this to be something that you can take a look at your numbers. And always, always, always trust in the numbers. And remember, if the numbers are pushing you to a place you don't want to be, you can go a different direction. But know that your numbers are going to suffer, at least for a little bit, because of it. When YouTube channels make big changes, they often see their metrics tank for a little bit because the target that YouTube was sending to them doesn't want to watch anymore. And so it takes you a while to reestablish that new target, that new brand, that new whatever. But it can work. Thomas Sadladerer, the guy that nobody can spell his name, nobody can pronounce it, I probably butchered it, recently rebranded his channel to Made with Layers. Honestly, a great name for a YouTube channel. But you might not find him if you're searching for the same thing anymore. But he realized he had a marketing and branding problem. You don't know how to spell his last name, and often people said, oh, it's Thomas Salamander, because they don't know how to spell it or say it, especially here in America. So he rebranded something that is more friendly to, advertise with. And I'm curious to see where his channel goes. I think in the initial time, it's going to suffer a bit of a dip. But because he's not really changing his core, he's not really changing his target, he's changing his name. Once people recognize that it's the same guy, he might see a much better ramp up to getting to that 500,000 mark that he is ever so close to. See, you need time for your market to understand that you're changing. So, with all that being said, does anyone have any questions here in the live chat? Of course, make sure to like if you are still here hanging out. It doesn't cost you a dime. And again, helps the algorithm know that more people should be sent to this video, right? Those interactions, those chats, those likes, all of that go an incredibly long way to letting the algorithm overlords know that this channel is something that should be watched, right? Sharing the video on social media helps get other eyes to it. And again, costs nothing. But if you guys have any questions about it before we wrap up, let me know. I would love to be able to answer any specific questions that people have. And again, I don't have all the right answers. Answers that fit you might not be ones that fit me. And for a lot of this, I can really only talk from my perspective because, well, I don't really have a lot of time to do it. Mr. Pfeiffer, Gregory Pfeiffer says, been lurking. I have single most important question. Where cat? I can see her. She is playing about 3 feet away from me. Okay, I got sent something. Nope, there goes the cat. Okay. She ran away. It's fine. The cat is here. But yes. She's doing cat things. She's doing important cat things. Oh, are we bringing the cat over? Okay. No, you're not. Okay, you want to come on and show the cat? Okay. There she is. There she is. See, we got her for you, Greg. We got her for you. There's the cat. Spike P says, not a question. Can you tag Polymate 3D when you are doing your next one? I will try and share it out. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I don't know where these came from, but do you want to play? Do you want to play? No? She is not interested in playing with me. But the cat's here, and the cat is good. Cats are always good. Anyways, if there is no other actual questions, we're going to call this one. I appreciate you guys coming out. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. See, she's gone. She's got important marketing things to do. And as always, keep making awesome. And this officially means that we have done 3 years of podcasts. It's crazy.